little bit better.
All right. Well, what's up, guys? Welcome to Large Lads episode 7. Based on your guys' feedback, we're going to try to hold the mics similar distances from our mouths so that way I'm not way louder and Max is not extremely quiet.
That was embarrassing that my audio levels were bad. After saying it, that we're gonna be fine.
No, it's going to be fine.
It's gonna actually be really chill. We also did flip sides, so
Yeah, we're mixing it up.
New
Max,
content every
Max
week.
highlighted that the episode 5, where the title was like pound symbol 5, performed better than EP6. So we're going to be changing the title back.
Five was also the comeback episode, so I don't know if it was
That's
just
true.
that.
That's true. But yeah, I've decided to like hand over the specifics of Large Lads to Max. This is going to be his brainchild in terms of the format and whatnot. So Max has decided we're going to skip the training check-ins this week because he's the boss man here. I will say I'm going to go in and do some pretty heavy behind the neck push press today, which after we finish this up, I'm going to be heading out to the gym to do those because I want to have some jerk blocks because I'm not too confident in my ability to catch a heavy single on my neck yet. I'm not that good at that. And I've been catching some of them. Like I had a huge scrape on the back of my neck last week because I used to bar with center knurling and I just like caught it a little early and it slid down. Terrible. A little nervous because, like as always, I'm a little tight through the pecs, so hopefully that goes okay. But gonna head to the gym in town after I have this during the podcast. So that's all I got for a training check-in. What are we talking about, boss?
Ooh, all right. Also, this is not fully my brainchild. If this episode is bad, let's still blame it on Sam.
If it does good, it's Max's show.
There you go.
If it bombs, it's my show.
Of course. So if this episode really is worse. Okay. This episode is better. This guy.
Whose channel is it, bum?
Sheather training. All right. I just made up a bunch of questions, so we're gonna ask those.
Artificially made artificial fan questions.
Actually, the truest fan, which is myself.
Max's number one fan, Max.
I definitely have seen the Large Lads videos more than anyone else.
Yeah, you've seen them Large Lad videos more than anyone else, and you've watched your Instagram videos more than anyone. Everyone else combined. You're half.
I am my own biggest fan.
If you walk into Max's room, there's a 50-50 chance he's lying in bed watching his own Instagram lifting videos. Like he'll like years back and be like, "Man, this deadlift I did at 16 was pretty good."
It's training review footage. Some of us actually take our training seriously, so
it's technique review from 10 years ago.
As an athlete, what do you think your strengths and weaknesses are and how you would approach training?
How I approach it?
Yeah. Or like how you go through training.
Okay. Well, so not like genetically, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess depends like for what, right? Like my deadlift technique, maybe not the best.
Questionable. Well, it's hard because it's like how much of that is you just having tiny arms? Like the number of people who have very short arms and have like.
So yeah, it's never gonna look as pristine as like every lift is that way, right? It's like the people that everybody marvels at their form the most are the people that have really favorable leverages.
Yeah,
it's like people are like, oh my god, Toshiki is so good at squatting, which he is, but he's also got very short femurs, very long torso, and then he also has really unique hip morphology to be able to like externally rotate, hit this bottomed out position, and come up, right? So it's like the people that people marvel about their technique the most are also the people that have a little bit of a head start in their lifts looking nice.
I think that sometimes will like steer people away. Like there's the whole like find the technique that works for you.
Yeah.
Well, I think there are like general technique principles that are going to work for 99% of people.
Yeah,
but
principles.
It's not gonna look like Toshiki. Like if I chase a Toshiki squat.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. The Sika guys have made good videos about like what can you learn from these outliers. You're like, and the first thing they say is your squat's not going to look like Tien Tao.
Yeah.
But here's the things he does really well that you can scale to your squat. It's going to look different, but we can take the principles, right?
Which I fundamentally can't deadlift like Adam Dirks for some reason.
Just get arm lengthening. They do the shin lengthening surgeries now. Or just get arm lengthening surgery.
The greatest ape index of all time.
I mean, yeah, just break the world record. See if they ban you. Yeah, I don't know. So it's like, yes, my deadlift is never going to look as pristine as someone with like really good leverages, right? Just like the only people that are really going to appreciate it are probably going to be other people with poor deadlift leverages.
And oftentimes they're gonna be like, my arm's shorter than his though, because
They are,
he pulls 835.
Well, and that's always something that you can see also is the better job you do, the less your leverages look bad during the lift. So like guys who like over retract during their deadlift, like, your arms look unbelievably short. If you're good at kind of that protraction reach, maybe you get comfortable with a little bit of thoracic round, your arms look way longer. It's the same arm length, right? So it's the same thing as like, I see people like, I've got the worst squatting leverages ever. And it's like, I would go out on a limb and say like your femur to height ratio isn't like out of this world unique.
Yeah.
And your squat would, you would look less gangly if you were better at squatting. Right?
Like gain some weight.
Yeah, like you, yeah.
My squat used to look like really like skeleton, gangly, longest femurs in the
when you were
universe.
skinnier, yeah.
Yeah, when I was like 170, it was like...
Yeah, when it's like there's different strategies you take, right? It's like usually guys with a little bit longer femurs are going to take a little bit wider stance. They might turn their toes out slightly more. They're going to drive their knees out and externally rotate. So if you watch from the side, their femur gets effectively a little shorter.
Yeah.
So then a newer lifter might watch that and they're like, oh, that looks nice. He's got better squat leverages than me. It's like, no, he's better at squatting. So sometimes that gets confusing. I mean, my deadlift...
I gotta, like you have really good bench leverages, really good squat leverages, and really good deadlift leverages, where it's like some of those things are contrary.
Yeah.
Like my arms are like slightly longer than normal. I'm just retracting my shoulder blades better than you.
Or like people say, like, John Hack is built perfect for all three lifts. What you're describing is average,
a neutral build.
Anthropometry. He's just ridiculously strong
and doing a good job.
Really good at powerlifting.
Yeah.
Like he's not built perfect for like that. That just means he's got average proportions.
Yeah.
Which I mean, roughly looking at him, lockout point looks pretty normal. Bench range of motion looks pretty normal. Squat positions like look like what people might be able to achieve if they got their ankles really mobile. It's not like out of this world, right? Where it's like you see guys like Toshiki, and it's like most people's never going to squat like that, right? So my deadlift could be better though. Like part of that's leverages. Part of that is I've relied on like making my training more general.
Yeah.
I've got a really strong lower back. And that's how I deadlift at 835. It's not because I'm really good at deadlifting.
Yeah.
So that's like, next year I want to make sure, my goal for the year is that 880 deadlift. We'll see how long it takes, but that's one of my big like milestones. And it's like one of those things. Yeah. One of those things is I have to get better at deadlifting, not just get stronger. Now there's some areas that I think like I need to bring up my upper back. I need to bring up everything, but in particular my upper back. And then I also need to get better at deadlifting. So I'm not particularly good at deadlifting. I could list... The problem with this question is I could list 1,000 things I'm bad at. I think people who say that they've got perfect form and that like they're like, no, I'm doing everything perfect.
Yeah.
They're like, no, back in the day when I gave powerlifting a serious run, I did everything perfect.
Yeah.
And I found out like my genetics just weren't there. And I was like, you did everything perfect?
Yeah.
That's great.
That's surprised. We actually have awesome genetics and everyone else is doing everything perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, just like zoom out. Like I'm good with my diet. I'm pretty good at that, right? I don't think I'm bad at dieting. My sleep is bad, but I'm doing most of the thing. I could do better though, right? It's like I'm sure there are pathways we're holding these different distances.
Really?
I was holding it up here, but
I'm hunched more forward, so I feel like the mouth to microphone.
Yeah. There's different pathways I could leverage, right? There's for sure just different things I could do in the training. Like I'm probably stronger than I am technical. Yeah. I need more event skill. Like as a strong man, that's the biggest thing is I need to just learn all of the tips and tricks and become more technical, especially as a smaller guy, shorter in stature, right? Like I'm 5'10", which for normal people is average height, but for strong man, I'm tiny, right? So it's like I need to make up for that with being technically proficient. I know that. Need to get better at deadlifting. I know that. Need to get more proficient overhead. I've got the strength. It's pretty good, but that needs to come up too.
Yeah.
I could waffle all day about like the process of training, like focusing on this element at this time, I could do better. Like I got an endless list of things, but I think real strengths are in my nutrition. I think training intensity is pretty good. I keep myself pretty mobile. Like I think that's something that gives me a bit of an advantage. I can get into positions that a lot of like 255-pound guys can't. So I think that's like a strength of mine. Is I move pretty well still. I'm pretty quick, like I've always been explosive. I think that's a strength that I didn't even have to earn. I've just always been explosive. Yeah. So I think those are some of the things I've got going for me, but like, it's just tough because it's like, I could list so many fucking things I'm bad at and I need to keep working on to get better, which is why I think I haven't scratched the surface of what I could do because I see infinite things that could just be refined. And it's like, those things are all going to have a synergistic effect. You're like, what is that small change going to do by itself? Yeah. Don't know. But if I do that among 50 other small positive changes and then do those repeatedly training after training cycle, I expect I'll get stronger.
Your training capacity is pretty monstrous as well.
Yeah, I've got a good, I'm durable, right? And that's more genetic though. Right?
Yeah.
That's not something I'm doing.
Well, like explosiveness, we were kind of leaning into like some more.
Yeah,
genetic
that's fair, right?
strong
I'm very durable, right? So it's like I can adapt to some pretty rigorous training. Like I was squatting over 675 every day for like 3 weeks, and I felt fine.
Yeah.
And those were like heavy lifts for me on the SSB, right? And it's like I felt fine. I can adapt to these things. And I can leverage that to my advantage. And I think part of that's because I live in a box. I've like set up my life to be even more extreme than yours in terms of just like water is measured to the milliliter, food. Like I think I can do part of it's like genetic durability. And then part of that is just like
the consistency
really
of recovery.
neurotic variable control lets me take a more red-lined approach because I'm not going to have this spike in like, oh, I didn't eat enough or I didn't drink enough. So this usually hard training load suddenly was too much and I hurt myself.
Yeah.
I'm always prepared for my sessions.
Yeah.
So I think that's a lot of my strength is like how willing I am to do everything possible to be prepared for each session because I've leveraged my life to where I don't have really other hobbies. I don't have like friends or other things that I do, which sounds sad when I say it. I think it's pretty cool.
It's awesome.
It's
super masculine.
yeah, Chad.
The man in the middle of Montana alone lifting weights.
Well, what about you? What would you
You
say?
have kefir in your.
I know. I can see it.
Is that kefir? Is that what that is?
I don't think this one's technically kefir. It's just like drinkable Greek yogurt. I'm not 100% sure. Like those sound like the same thing.
Yeah.
As far as I know, kefir is basically just like.
I had a real moment of
Drinkable
worry where I was like,
yogurt?
did I just make up the word kefir? I was like, oh god.
No, I love
Please.
kefir, but these have a little bit more protein. They're just drinkable Greek yogurts.
Yeah, I remember Paris put up that like everyone's got their own like weaknesses and strengths when it comes to training because like
Yeah, well, he was saying more genetically, right? 'Cause
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
people tend to get really doomer and say, well, I don't have elite genetics,
Yeah.
so I just don't have good genetics, right? But it's like, even within your own genetics, if you had a magical chart to put your percentile, you've got things you're good at and things you're worse at. And
Yeah.
I think you can have a more positive outlook.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I'm not 6'10". This whole strongman thing.
Real bummer.
If I was a foot taller, this whole thing would be a lot easier,
Yeah.
right? I'm not gonna lie. But I've got things like I am fast.
Yeah.
I've got that going for me.
Yeah.
So it's like I need to do some work to preserve that. But I've got these things that can boost my status. And when I say good and bad, I mean relative to good strongmen.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like people get on me on the YouTube about like, oh, you don't have bad genetics. I'm like, I'm saying compared to the 6'10" guy.
compared to Heather Bjornsson,
Like,
yeah.
compared to the average person, yes, I understand that,
Yeah.
right? I understand how this all hashes out, right? But I think the average person could do that really well. Is just like, maybe I'm not the most neurally efficient. Like you and I are pretty neurally efficient. Our single has always been pretty good relative to what we could do for 2 reps. We could do a lot more for 1 rep. There's just this neural efficiency component that maybe it's part of how we train. Maybe it's part of having compensatory acceleration. It's something we did a lot of in the past. Maybe it's just genetic, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, I'm neurally efficient. If you're not neurally efficient, but you're like, you can have a huge work capacity. That's a genetic strength, right? Like it's like there's strengths and weaknesses and there's silver linings. Like GVS always talks about how he can just handle a ton of work.
Yeah.
And at first you're like, that's more of like an endurance athlete trait, not a bodybuilder trait. But he's taken that trait and leveraged it into doing more arm volume than everybody else.
Yeah.
And has big arms and he can recover from it. So you can take like these things that you're good at and leverage them. Or you can say, okay, maybe I have good genetics, maybe I have average genetics, maybe I have bad. This is a deficiency for me. I need to do extra work on it. Like I need to work on my grip. My hands are small. Even if I've got I'm pretty strong in the grip. I'm always going to be fighting an uphill battle with small hands. I need my training to reflect that. So it's like, like you said, you can break things down. I'm over talking again. I promise Max will talk more this episode. That was my bad last week.
No, it's it is.
I
your
felt
chance.
so guilty though. Well, I was watching it back. I was like, "Oh my god, I look like a fucking dickhead." Like Max can't get a word in, and I'm just like, "Let me fucking tell you." Well, because I'm always so scared that there's going to be context that people miss. Well,
that was-
you and I talk so much off camera. I just cut you off again, right?
Well, that's really funny because that was exactly what my point was going to be. Was that I like you talk in complete thoughts rather than like individual sentences. So like you're getting through a full idea, and so in my mind, I'm basically cutting you off because you're still in the middle of like an idea that you're getting through for the YouTube audience, and so it's not like you're really cut. Like I'm interjecting in the middle of a thought. And like obviously, like if you hear like how a conversation works, it's usually like one back and forth. But you're trying to get like an actual training concept out rather than an individual sentence.
Well, yes, I snap into like monologue mode because I'm just so used to when the camera's there. I'm like, I want to cross my T's, dot my I's, make sure that as few people misunderstand what I'm saying or if there's background context. Because it's like you and I have been training for so long in the same way.
Yeah.
We speak the same language, or we'll just say some bullshit
Yeah.
that doesn't really make sense, and we have like a shared understanding of like what part of training that refers to. And I'm like, I want to make sure sure people know it, and then I just snap into like monologue mode.
And it's hard because it's like if you don't give context, you're gonna have like the one dude being like,
Well, I've just
"Nah,
stopped reading the comments.
Probably a good idea.
Bromley told me to.
Because there was a little while where like that definitely bothered you whenever.
Oh,
like,
dude!
you-
Every time I get a bad comment, it ruins my day. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's just because like I don't talk to people much, so it's like to hear that people have a bad opinion of me, even if it's just some idiot.
Yeah.
They're like, you're the dregs of society, and you're just leaving an angry comment on some like idiot's YouTube channel. I'm still bothered that someone thinks that of me,
Yeah.
right? But it's like I shouldn't, and I know I shouldn't, but I can't. Like, and so I was talking to Bromley about it after we did our podcast, and basically he was just saying like, look. The bad of reading all of your comments, the bigger your channel gets, far outweighs the good. Because it's not like you're getting a huge ego trip off of everybody saying, oh, you're great, I
Yeah.
love your videos. It's just like, good. That's what I was hoping.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's nice, but it's not that nice.
And like views and likes are enough of a metric to see how
Views
people
and likes are a
enjoying
metric.
it.
You can even see the number of comments, right?
Hey, let it be known. Any video I'm in, I read all the comments.
Max reads everything Max is involved in.
Yeah.
Max reads the comments and watches the video like 8 times.
Yeah. I think I've been getting dunked on so hard since I was 14.
You're just used to Yeah.
Yeah.
Ever since you started having Max started getting like lifting clips on Instagram going viral, like starting about 14. Like you would do a big
It's
squat
15.
or big deadlift or a big squat, and it would make it outside the reach of people that know anything about powerlifting, and they're like, this kid is a fat fuck.
Yeah, well,
Like, it's just so, and Max is like, damn, that's crazy. And so it's just like been conditioned from a young age.
Yeah, because when I was like 15, 16, I would have like a video get 100,000 views almost every training cycle. Because
I remember that when you were like, you were going crazy.
Yeah,
back then.
I was kind of.
You've gotten less popular.
Substantially less popular. I feel like that's cooler for me now, as like a
Being a little bit more
adult.
underground is better than just being like a teenage clout lifter.
Yeah, yeah. Well, like I don't know. I
Well, you would have more views if you just pound plate lifted. Like if
True.
you just filled up the bar with like the thick pound plates. Right? It's like the squats would get way more views. The deadlifts would get way more views. And I always respect people that don't do that.
Yeah.
Because it's like out now and then. Because it's like, yeah, people do monetize their social media. You don't. So
Yeah.
why would you deviate from proper training?
Yeah.
You know, it's like Justin, the guy I coach. I appreciate, he's got such a technical sumo. The fact that he could just throw on pound plates at any time, and
Yeah.
like, he could put. Dude, I think like he did need straps because his hook grip is still.
Yeah.
I think his hook grip is going to be at like 770 for his knee. That's going to be our goal, right? He's going to be at. He's going.
so I fucking absolutely half of that ended up.
I
on
think
my
his hook will be ready for 770. But it's like if you throw on straps and you throw on pound plates with how technically proficient he is, I think he could do 855. I think he could do the 9
Just a full 9 plates,
I
yeah.
think he could do a full 9 plates, and he
Well,
doesn't do it. And I respect that so much. Like if he just asked me, like after this block, could I do this? I would say, yeah. Why not? Right? I want all most of our training to be right. But the fact that he hasn't even asked, I respect a lot.
Yeah, it's weird because it's like there will be like young clout lifters where I'm like, you're still doing things that like is like pursuing being a better power lifter. And
Yeah.
like,
You can strike a tasteful balance. Like some
Yeah.
guys do that. Like I don't think Jesus has messed up his progress doing like a session that for him is light. It's not light, but
Yeah.
for him a lighter session. He'll just go somewhere and use pound plates.
Yeah.
And that video will go crazy. It'll grow his profile.
Yeah.
It's good for his brand, right? And it's like he's not doing that when it could interfere with his training, and he's doing it really well, right? So it's like you can make decisions. Why are you looking at my forehead?
am I? I think I just zoned out.
My hairline is receding as we talk.
My God. Also, guys, get in the comment section. Sam has been talking about growing out the like Zahir samurai cut of hair
like
around.
long hair, Mr. Burns style, but then like put it in a ponytail. I think it'd be pretty sick.
Yeah.
It'd be like the reverse Yuri Prohaska.
I do. I think it'd be so sick. Yeah, I feel like I've always been embarrassed by the idea of like I try and gain clout and fail is so embarrassing.
Yeah.
That I'm just like I just need to stick to doing what.
Yeah, but you let the comments roll off much better than I do. Most people do, to be fair. Like I get worked up. I'm just, how is it possible for someone to have an opinion this dumb? It's like I don't like, you know how they say like the things that hurt you most are the ones that have a little bit of truth in them.
Yeah.
Not even.
Yeah.
The ones that have the least truth in them, I'm so wound up that someone can be that fucking dumb that I'm just like walking around the house, like I'll still be preparing for my lift, but I'll be pissed all day. Like that guy's so stupid. How is that possible?
I remember the like Supreme Patty got strong ones. I
Oh,
was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
that's pretty good. That is like I
Well,
do.
it's not even mean. It's just
I do
like
kind of look like
passive resemblance.
Part of it was just
at
because I
the
had
time.
acne. Yeah, like I
Yeah,
had like
yeah.
horrible acne, and I was
The long hair, the acne, like, and you were lifting a lot of weight, and everybody's like, oh, Supreme Patty got strong. It's like, all right.
Yeah, that one was pretty
Like,
neutral.
if people, those ones, like, if somebody left a comment, they're like, you look like insert bald man.
I love when it's not bald. That's always crazy.
But like, if they said you look like bald guy, I'd be like, yep, like that doesn't bother me at all. Holy shit! Like, yep, I see myself every day, and I know my hair is gone. But to rewind, what would you consider your genetic strengths? Because I have some ideas of what I think, like when I'm coaching you as an athlete, like where does Max do a really good job? Or sorry, not genetic strength, like strength as an athlete or genetic.
Okay,
right?
so a little bit of both.
Like what gives Max a competitive advantage? Like, I've got one in my head, right?
Okay. I mean, like you said, I peak very easily. Part of that also comes with like, if we push my deadlift volume too much, I get injured.
That might also just be like part of being like an explosive lifter means peaking happens faster, so you can afford to spend more time building volume.
Where it's like there are other people who are roughly my strength level that I just know I could get to like a top end single so much faster.
Yeah.
Because like our strength phase kind of runs like later. Like we've progressively
we
later.
both push ours really late, right?
And I think I don't know how much of that is like adapting to how you train versus like a genetic propensity.
Yeah,
but it's like I've always been able to pull like a single I shouldn't be able to pull out of my back pocket.
Yeah.
Like that's happened so many times.
I actually don't think it's as unique as you think. I think when you say like, oh, that person takes a while to peak, it's not that they're taking a while to peak, it's that they're not in good shape. I don't think people would like if they're in good shape for fives.
Yeah.
I think most people can peak quicker than you think. Like I think we're closer to normal in time to peak. Like it's like give you a 3-week run up and you're like golden, right?
Yeah.
I think if you take a guy who's in good shape for fives, they could be in pretty good shape with a 3-week run up, unless they're one of those guys that is just unbelievably good at reps. Then there's real benefit to like taking heavier singles for a prolonged period because you could say, okay, well you're good at reps or you're bad at singles. If you're bad at singles, do the thing you're bad at, right?
I think as more of an athlete, I think I did like a good job of taking my training sessions seriously.
Oh no, I think that's one of the best things you do is you come into sessions with goals and you reflect on the prior session and you look forward to the next session. It's like I commonly tell my athletes, I'm like, hey, you guys know how Max is good and he's progressing well? This is something that I observe him doing, just like living together, is this like reflective goal. It's not just like, I heard Tom Stoltman say he likes to not think about the gym when he's outside the gym. And I think that's
Cohn also said that.
I think that's the kind of thing that only Tom Stoltman and Ed Cohn can get away with. Because most of the good athletes I coach are the ones who are like, I've got 5 sets of 5 today. I have it in my head. I want to do ramping and end with this set. And that gives them the motivation to prepare really thoroughly. They're thinking about what their technical errors were. So I think your focus in sessions is really good.
Yeah, I think I definitely have things that I need to work on. I think Sam and I have talked about like periodizing your recovery variables like in your life, where like you like take like I'll stay up a little bit later at the early of the block because I can get away with that without the injury risk of like.
You do a phenomenal job with that.
I think sometimes I get a little too loosey-goosey with it.
Oh, yeah, I mean, everybody's going to. Right? Because it's like you could, just like how you get a little bit too loosey-goosey and you keep your variables a little bit too bad, a little bit too late. What's the reverse? Being like me and trying to keep it full throttle year round, which lends itself to way worse burnout. So it's like there's downsides to both. But you're like my quintessential example. What we're talking about is Max will, when it gets to the point where like we're passing like 85% load, Max is living like a monk. He's in bed, he's in his meals. It's just like there's cut down on the
living
fun.
like Sam.
You cut down on the fun, right? To the point where it's like by the end of a prep, Max is extremely rigorously prepping to where I would say most people only get that serious for a meet prep, if ever. Max does it at the end of every training cycle. But the reason that's sustainable to do it year round, like hit that point of dedication year round, is because as soon as he's done and we have lighter weights for volume, he's not being a bum. He's still eating his meals and doing the things to like make that volume effective, but he'll stay up later, right? Yeah. He'll like go out to dinner and eat some bullshit, right? Like that's something that's gonna jack up your stomach, right? Like your training schedule, you're like, fuck, I'm training at like midnight in the garage today because my time management was suspect, but I'm still getting it in, right? So it's like, and I think part of being better is if you use this like kind of swaying approach of dedication,
your minimum
you want both of them to get better, higher and higher level with time. Like the peaks of dedication you reach probably need to get higher and higher and higher to hit new peaks, but also how far you let that swing back. As long as it's sustainable, right? So it's like a much worse athlete that I might coach might swing back to like they're missing meals left and right. They're just not taking it seriously, and they can get away with that as long as they dial it in. As things get heavier, as you get better, being that lackadaisical in your hypertrophy phase means you didn't build enough base.
Yeah.
So it's like you do need to bring like the minimum. It's almost more important. It's just like how if someone said, if I give you ramping 5x5, start at this weight, add whatever amount of weight, like auto regulate as you need to. You can add weight each set, just don't exceed RPE 8. Sounds like something I would give somebody.
Yeah.
I'm more concerned with the minimum of those ramping sets. As long as that's coming up, I'm a happy camper. If you're PRing the heaviest of the ramping sets every week, that's cool. But the minimum coming up more consistently matters more to me as a coach. It's just like it's the base, right? It's the base of the session, right? Just like it's the base of the physical qualities that we're trying to build. So yeah, I'd say that's something you do phenomenally well. What else?
Little final note on that.
Okay.
I think a lot of times people perhaps watching these YouTube videos will see Sam, who is freakishly dedicated, to be completely real. I've been training for 11 years.
11.
I have
just hitting the 11 mark, I think.
I've trained some strong people. I've never met someone as dedicated as Sam. Like, I have people who work extremely hard and who do very good jobs of everything. Sam sometimes takes it too far. Like Sam will it's unproductive.
I think I'm probably cortisol dumping all the time because I'm like I missed like a cup of water today. I'm gonna fail, right?
But like people, I think will see Sam or another very advanced athlete doing such a good job of their training, and will be like, I need to get to my goals fast. I need to do that, which is good. Like you should take your training more seriously, but they'll do it in like an unsustainable way, like this massive jump in consistency.
I talked about this with Bromley. It's up on it. The full podcast is up on Bromley's Patreon. He's gonna dice. It ran really long. Me and Bromley get along. We're like similar weirdos. So it was like 3.5 hours. So he's gonna dice it up into videos that are more palatable. We talked about that. Was just like you don't need to jump to an elite strength athlete. You need to just do a little bit better. Right?
Yeah.
I went through there. If you guys want to, I hope I'll post up that portion of it. Basically, I said like when you're early on, it might just be like, hey, eat one extra meal per day if you're regularly missing meals. That's all you need to do to keep getting better.
Yeah.
And then, hey, drink water before your sessions. Just don't come in rampantly dehydrated. And you're going to keep getting better. And then, hey, fix this obvious error in your squat. And you're going to keep getting better. So it's just you need to meet yourself where you're at and take it one step at a time. Then it's like maybe you need to do a little bit more assistance volume. That's the change. You don't need to revamp your life to mirror what Half Thor is doing, right? Then it's like, hey, you're starting to get up there. Maybe you can't do linear anymore. You need to do daily undulating. And then, daily undulating doesn't work. So it's like programming. Your nutrition needs to get a little bit better. Your sleep needs to get a little bit better. Hey, you're getting pretty decent. You need to stop straight up binge drinking. Maybe you can even binge drink early in the training cycle. You can't do it every week anymore.
Structure on heavy training days or whatever.
Exactly. It's just like people can't. No, very few people, unless they have a rigorous background in pursuing something else to a high level, can even jump into like a straight bodybuilding diet. It needs to be progressive. You need to start with just having like a bodybuilder looking breakfast. And then when that gets really easy, you need to start having like a little bit more protein in your lunch. And then with time, that progresses into what would be a mentally strenuous diet. But for the athlete, it's not that mentally strenuous because they built into it.
You just do a little better every block because that jump is just like you're gonna burn out and you're gonna revert to even worse than you were doing before. And so it's like just that like it's the small gains in terms of like consistency because like my bare minimum now is better than my peak was probably 5 years ago.
Absolutely.
Right? Because I don't miss a meal. Like sometimes I'll go and eat a Chipotle burrito for a meal.
Well, that's huge.
Tastier. Like so it's like I'm not missing meals. I drink my water every day. I bring my gallon jug.
You never slack on the meals.
But it's like my food sometimes gets, or my sleep sometimes. Like I stay up till 2 a.m. with my girlfriend. Yada yada yada. So it's like I think my bare minimum should be higher right now.
Right now, Max is going through the same thing I went through. Max has a girlfriend now. He's staying up too late. Right? And it's like that. It was the same thing when Kirsten and I started dating. And it's just like, we have strong personalities. So our influence of earlier bed versus their influence of later bed, we went out in the end.
Eventually, of course.
It's just like you just put enough pressure on them. You make them feel guilty enough. You're like, babe, I'm feeling so bad when I'm training with these late bedtimes. It's all your fault, right? It's like gradually it'll get like what like it'll be like 1 a.m. is an average. And also as you get older, you feel worse, right? Not that I'm old. Everybody yells at me in the comments. I know I'm not old, right? Like you wait till you're 30. I get it. Like, but yeah, no, there's a remarkable difference, right? It's like you can get away with it, and get away with a little less, and it's like okay, 1 a.m. is normal. That doesn't fly anymore.
Yeah.
Midnight is no. It like takes a while to work its way back to like me and Kirsten now going to bed at 10.
Yeah, at last peak, I did go, and like luckily my girlfriend, shout out Nina, was very cool with like, no, we're going to bed at 11 tonight. Like I'm floating heavy tonight.
Yeah, but the average coming, like,
Yeah.
it was the same thing. It's like, I could prepare for a heavy session, but the average needs to improve. Like,
Yeah.
what's the worst you get?
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, I thought you were doing a really good job pushing your peak, like when you were peaking last time. I was
Yeah.
like, now I'm really familiar with what Max is going through, where it's just like so much pressure to do everything right.
Yeah.
Do your mobility, do your sleep, do your food. Like, don't come in underprepared. And it's like, it sucks when you go that hard and it doesn't pay off. Which is the scary part about doing it, is that it's terrifying in the moment because you're like, what if this is for nothing?
Yeah.
It isn't for nothing because you're
Yeah.
still getting better, even if you fail to express it.
I remember the Kalispell meet was like one of like the most definitive times of my training career that I felt like I gave it like a really hard effort. Like I went to sleep every single night. I was eating all of my meals, and it just didn't work. Like it was like we just didn't get meaningfully stronger.
Yeah.
And it was just like that. It was like that sucks. And it came. We found out that it was like, oh, my volume is too high. Like,
Yeah.
I just was not able to recover from
Yep.
the amount that we were doing at that time.
Yeah, you had gotten to the point where the absolute weights you were training, like, let's just say a middleweight.
Yeah.
And you're now a heavyweight.
Yeah.
Effective training looks different.
Yeah.
Despite what Paul Carter says.
And I think that's something that's like very rarely. It's a phrase you like that I've kind of adopted. Is like the very rarely does hard work go like completely
hard work is seldom wasted. I got
Yeah.
that from Mike T.
Yeah, where it's like then the next block after that went great. When
Yep.
we'll pull back my volume a little bit, it was one of the best blocks. I've
Well,
ever
and that's
had.
how it usually goes. Guys are devastated they didn't PR this block. It's like you might have just fumbled the expression phase. Like
Yeah.
you got sick 2 weeks out.
Yeah.
That's not like the whole 7 weeks leading up to that were failed,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like your base is bigger. And then every time like clockwork, they're super disheartened because they got unlucky at the end. Or maybe they fumbled it somehow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe I fumbled it somehow in a program.
Yeah.
All of these are possible.
Well, I like 6
Every-
days a week so much that
Yeah.
I was like, Sam, we're not going to drop it back. And so eventually,
Yeah, I
just-
wish I could train 6 days a week really effectively still.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I exercise 7, but weights.
Yeah.
Weights 6 days a week is way more fun.
Yeah.
And it's like, could we write a program to get away with it? Yes, but I think the progress is better with 2 days away for us at this point.
Yeah.
Right? As much as I hate it.
Yeah.
But what was I saying? Oh, every time without fail, one of two things happens. It either really sours them on the process and they suck after that.
Yeah.
And it maybe takes them a while to fall in love with training again and they're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
If they're just like redouble my efforts,
Yeah.
like people are like, I tried so hard. You could try harder. And the guys who are like, I could try harder.
Yeah.
I guess there's no solution but to try harder. They try real hard the next block, huge PRs. Not because they did that good that block, but it's because they also had that amount that they built the prior cycle that they failed to express. So it's like, yeah, that 0 pound PR might be followed by a 25-pound PR. And you're like, okay, everything works out in the wash. Hard work is seldom wasted.
Yeah, it's something that like I think is another strength of mine is sometimes just being like, I just didn't work hard enough.
Yeah,
It's like nothing was wrong. I just straight up that was on me. Like I didn't.
Well, and
work.
how you work too
Yeah.
is something that you and I probably need to be a little bit smarter. Just, work harder, and it's like,
Yeah.
honestly, that should have been hard enough if it was directed properly.
Yeah.
So being a little bit more reflective on like, what could I do better? Like again, good clients do this, bad clients don't do this. I try to help with it, obviously, but it's just like, nah, Sam, I'm not gonna lie to you. There was nothing wrong with the program. I wasn't sleeping. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's all will change.
Yeah.
Or I'm not gonna lie to you, I wasn't eating.
Yeah.
Or they're like, no, I was doing a really good job. I'm not like Sam. I some people lie to me and they think I can tell they're lying, which is really crazy. So they're like, no, I just didn't miss a meal. And I was like, why are you losing weight? Like, I don't believe you.
My calorie maintenance went up. I don't know.
Yeah, and well, they don't want to, like, I don't know. Some people view me as an authority figure, which is hard to wrap my head around because to me, I'm an idiot. And
Yeah.
It's like, why do you care what I think?
Which is very funny.
But they view, like, they want my approval for some reason. Fuck that. Well, don't get my approval.
Yeah.
But they'll, like, insist they're doing a really good job. And I'm like, no, I could help you a lot better. I don't care if you are missing meals. Like, I'm not going to look down on you for it. Just tell me.
Yeah.
Like, it's making this whole process worse by insisting you're not because you want me to say, oh, damn, you're doing a really good job.
Yeah.
I would rather you just tell me what you're doing
Yeah.
and we work on like, hey, just eat a bagel. Like, just something like that.
And I think you do a pretty good job noticing when like clients aren't even talking about it, but it's very obvious in your training that you're doing a better job sometimes.
I'm not the strongest communicator, but like, yeah, sometimes I do try to go out of my way. If like, if I've done this long enough, I've worked with people long enough, that's like, if they see a big uptick in their progress, they're doing a good job with their outside. They're going crazy on their outside the gym variables.
Yeah.
The training's similar,
Yeah.
right? I try to go out of my way and just be like, hey, good job. I can tell that you're doing a great job.
Yeah.
When you're outside the gym stuff, it's showing. Keep it up, champ.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
I Yeah, I don't know. That's like communicationally. I could always like that weakness as a coach, right?
Yeah.
Not the highest people skills in the world, right? But yeah, no, I mean, I would say one of your biggest strengths is just how much you've preserved your work capacity as a super heavyweight. You can handle more some work than most super heavyweights, which I think is a predictor of who's the good. Like that was some Big Z was always famous for just doing more training.
Yeah.
Ronnie was always famous for just doing more training than everybody else was doing. Like this work capacity for work, if we apply it the right way,
Yeah.
is like one of the strongest things we can have. Jesus, right? The way he allocates it, I don't think people understand how good his work capacity is.
Yeah.
Because they're like, he's not doing that much bodybuilding work, and when he does, he's not going crazy heavy on it.
Like 815 for 7 and then squatting again, like
To turn around week after week after week, I don't think he does A week, B week,
Yeah.
you know? And to hit, like, to me, even more than that, like 800 for 7 or whatever it was,
Yeah.
when he just like posted up like a 705 4x8. That is an ungodly work capacity
Yeah.
to be able to not just do that and like get up for that fourth set and do it,
Yeah.
but to recover from that and have that be an intelligent training session is a level of work capacity. It's like, that's why you're the best.
Well, in my mind, I was like, I did like 550 for 2 sets of 7 out of 6 on
Yeah.
squats, and it's like, what? I can't even imagine. Like that is so crazy.
How systemic, yeah, it's crazy systemically taxing, and people see that and they're like, well, I do 4x8 that are hard, and it's
Yeah.
like, okay, well, this is where absolute load matters because
Yeah.
they're like, there's different ways to fill that work capacity. Like some guys do a little bit of squatting, a little bit of benching, a little bit of deadlifting, and a ton of assistance work, and that's how they get really good.
Yeah.
Go out and let me guess, Peter Petros does a lot of assistance work.
Yeah.
Right. But other guys fill it by going to the brim, to the amount that they can do of just their competition movements. So it looks a little different. But you've preserved, like you're a very, like for a 335 pound man, you're in ridiculously good shape. Could you be in better shape if that was the goal? Yes. But like for what we do, the capacity for work is really good.
It's funny because in my mind, I'm like, mine is kind of mid.
You have to scale it. Eventually, you just have to scale it to body weight.
Yeah.
Like it's for a super heavyweight.
Yeah.
Like it's good to hold yourself to the same standard. Like you're like, well, I should be able to keep up with Sam. Why shouldn't I?
Yeah.
Right. But it's like, and that leads to a good result. But at the same time, more objectively, it's like
Yeah.
for a super.
Yeah, we're like, we can't write my program around the fact that
You're not going to train the way Kel does.
Yeah.
Right. Like Kel, before he switched to bodybuilding, hit a 475 dots. So it's like similar-ish to you.
Yep.
And it's like, you cannot do the number of working sets of just anything that Kel does.
Yeah.
Kel does like 1,000 sets a week.
Yeah.
And they're hard.
Yeah.
Kel was a guy that went to high school with me at Max. I used to coach for powerlifting. And like, he benched like 385 at 145. Just a freak athlete. Super jacked.
It's crazy that our very small high school has produced like 4 people at a 450 dots right now.
I don't think is Adam at 450. I think Adam, if you're watching this, I apologize if you crack 450. More power to you. I would think like 435, 440. Just that's mental mathing it.
Yeah.
Because he's got a really really good bench press, obviously.
Yeah.
A very solid squat. Just the deadlift like leading down the total a little bit. But
It is funny that
he might be at 450. Adam, don't kill me. I apologize if I've robbed you of something that you've earned in a 450 training dots.
it is funny that it's because of you, like it's kind of exclusively.
The bench press being disproportionate.
No.
Him being bad at deadlifting.
I was
I mean,
just
I'll
saying-
take credit for these things.
I was gonna say the fact we have 4 people because it's like coming on pounding because you.
Oh, yeah, no, I know
on
what you mean.
pounding,
I thought you were saying Adam's success is mine. I was like, no. I mean, he's made a ton of progress.
Yeah, no, you're
since
the
I
reason
stopped.
Adam is good. Like,
No, like he's made so much progress. I think obviously the bias in base building towards what I have everybody do.
Yeah.
I like to think that helped a little bit. And I'd
Yeah.
be very surprised if it didn't. Just
Yeah.
doing a ton of volume early in a training career tends to potentiate a lot of success when someone pulls down the volume, up the frequency, up the intensity. But yeah, no, I mean, you powerlift because of me. I don't know. Maybe Adam would have gotten into it regardless, but I don't know. It's at least an influence there.
Yeah.
Kel powerlifted because of me.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
it could have been 3 or 4 500 dots.
we're gonna be at 3 500 benches from our tiny high school zone.
Yeah. Maybe the 500 bench. I'm gonna try. I realized I was kind of soy jacking it. I was not working as hard as I should to be able to bench 500
Yeah,
on my average days. We bumped it to I'm doing 5 or 15,
five work sets 3 times a week, so 15 work sets per week through the base building phase. So
which was ending up at like like 150, 160 working reps at like the early block,
Mm-hmm.
which was a lot. That I'm like, generally I'm hoping that will help me cruise through. But it's like I should have been going a little harder on my like tricep accessory work and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's the time to really empty the tank as well on the assistance work, even if the total volume takes a little bit of a hit on our specific work. And we could probably organize the assistance work a little bit more. I was thinking like I could just take my notes from what I've had a couple other people do to get to that 500 and how I organize the assistance work and like, hey, this is the kind of weight we probably need to be dipping in terms of, obviously in terms of total weight, not weight added, because that's a little bit more relevant. But yeah, I think there's more we can do to like leverage that 15-pound jump,
Yeah,
20-pound jump.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, I think I might have won this week at 485 if I didn't max on my.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, all right, that's Large Lads episode 7. I think that was a solid episode, a little bit shorter.
Cool. Appreciate you fellas for watching. We'll be doing it again next Monday. Max doesn't work on Mondays, so we really don't have an excuse to miss these.
Yeah. Oh, don't say that.
Wake up at 10.
Let's
Let's do it at 10 next week. Max is getting up at noon.
Well, today I don't work, so of course I'm sleeping in.
I've just been hanging out all morning waiting for Max to wake up to do Large
It's very
Lads.
funny. I woke up earlier than that. I just played Warzone.
All right. Thank you guys for watching.